So rising today ahead of that big Nvidia earnings report due out after the close, the S&P 500 on track for its best gain in 5 sessions. Joining me now, we've got Vance Howard, who's the Howard Capital Management CEO and CIO. Vance, you say that investors should be trading on math right now and not emotion. Explain what you mean by that and how you're looking at the state of the market right now.
Well, you know, our proprietary indicator, the HC on buy line, is an intermediate to longer term trend indicator, and you need to follow the trend. It's equally as important as the Fed, what the Fed does. And the HC on buy line is positive, so we see that as any pullback as being viable. And I think there's a lot of great opportunities that have set up, and you look at, Salesforce and some other areas, especially tech. So I think we're going to see the market start to bottom out, sometime this week, and I think that's a very, very positive sign. But net, we're very bullish for 2025.
Now, when you say trading on investments and trading on, math, not emotion here, no animal spirits playing in and showing up in that. How can one go about aptly making sure that they're not being overly emotional in that investment decision?
Well, I get calls all the time. I got a call the other day, and they were talking about, hey, should I sell my stocks because of what's going on? The market's pulled back 3 days in a row. And I'm like, 3 days in a row? That's a non-event. That's just movement. But the trend's clearly one thing that people need to pay the most attention to. And if the trend's up, just stick with the trade until the trend breaks. And right now, the trend's very, very positive. It's strong. And these pullbacks are actually gifts, I think. I think 2025 is going to be a wonderful year. You're seeing Salesforce pullback, Amazon pullback. These are viable opportunities for investors.
And it certainly could play out wonderful trough to peak, at least, as long as we hit some of those targets that many of the big firms have set forth. It seems like the consensus is somewhere around S&P 500, 6,600 by year end. And so we have a ways to go until we get to that point.
Right.
But one of the major bellwethers that we've seen time after time again, earnings period after earnings period, has been Nvidia.
Yes.
How much of that is a make or break, at least in the early innings of 2025?
I think what it's going to do today is somewhat stabilize the market. I don't think you're going to see the market really shoot up higher. You've got two different things. You've got the Russell 2000 and you've got the Mag 7 are now oversold. And now they were overbought, a week and a half ago. So now you're sort of working off a little bit of that trough. One of the key areas that we've been looking at also is look at the QQQ. If it can get above that 540, that's a breakout. Now it's trading in that range, and always remember, never short a dull market. Up until the last 3 days, the past 6 to 8 weeks, it's been pretty dull. It's been just sort of sideways trading in a range. So I think there's opportunity here. Keep your emotions in check. Don't sell out just because you had 3 bad days, because 3 bad days, a week from now, they can make up for it in a heartbeat.
What we've seen in the last few sessions here as well is pressure on some of the riskier areas of the markets. And crypto naturally comes to mind with that. How have you been evaluating it?
Well, you look at crypto as 110, and it's packed off to about 87,000 now. I think it's going to go down to about 81 to 80. I think you've got support there. I think the overall market, NASDAQ tech, is very much viable. I'd be a little bit patient on crypto. Net, now listen to what I'm going to say. I think we're going to hit an all-time high in Bitcoin by the end of the year. I think we'll come out of this 110 and shoot back up. And even the drawdown that we're seeing now is less violent and less volatile than what we've seen historically. So it's starting to stabilize.
Any price target for that all-time high for crypto?
Don't have an all-time high. I'm just predicting it'll break out of that 110. I think people will be very, very pleased. And this at 80, even if you bought it today and it pulls back a little bit further, I think you've come in at a good entry price.
I want to end the conversation where we began, and that was some of the picks that you had. And you had mentioned Salesforce, I believe, within that here. Why is that? And is that perhaps indicative of a broadening in the AI trade?
I think so. And one thing that I like, and you and I have talked about this before on your show, is I love recurring revenue. Salesforce CRM's a symbol. They have recurring revenue. They don't have to go out and resell the product every month. They get a check every month for somebody that's using it. Plus, you've got AI that can be infused into Salesforce, which can actually make a real big impact and make the product more valuable and more usable for investors and for people who are using it to advance their businesses.
Really interesting. Vance, great to have you back here in studio with us. Really appreciate the time and the insights here.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.